Hey everybody, Archer Dre here. We're coming back to you with a new video. I have a little bit of a interesting idea here for you guys. We are going to be explaining why it is that I always say that pallets are better than it is for Windows when you are playing Doctor. Like, why is it that you're able to play pallets so much better than you are Windows when it comes to playing Doctor? And I'm going to showcase a little bit, explain it in detail, and hopefully it'll help you guys maybe get a little bit of practice in and help you improve your shock timing so that way you can, kick some ass in this game of Dead by Daylight. So without further ado, we're going to bring on over to some gameplay, and I will go into some explanation. I'll see you guys over there. Alrighty, now getting on into things here, we are going to be going straight in on the difference between a pallet and a window when it comes to Doctor and playing against Doctor, and my reasoning for why I prefer to go against a piece of wood rather than a gaping hole in a wall. So, now, why is it that I say these types of things? Well, the biggest reason of all is the difference between when prompts show up for a survivor on a window versus a pallet. So, you have two different types of vaults that you can do with a window. You have your regular vault where you just walk up to it, space. You can either do a rushed vault with shift, or you can do a slow vault by just holding space on it. Or you can do a running vault to get a fast vault. And the difference here lies in where the prompt actually shows up visibly for the survivor and when they're able to actually press the button to get the vault. So for a regular vault or a medium vault, like as in like a slow vault, medium vault, you have to be approximately here-ish. It's about a step away from the window to get the vault. Just to visually reference it, it's lined up with those boxes there. Now, to get a fast vault, you have to have a running start towards a window. So, generally speaking, you would go right here. And if you notice, it'll say running vault at the bottom of the screen as you approach the window. And that prompt only appears if you have the, requirements needed to meet it. And otherwise, it won't show up. So you have to be pressing shift, you have to be running towards the window, and the vault space appears here just like in line with the doorway. That's about twice the distance, probably about 3 steps away from the window for the prompt to show up. And that's the biggest difference, because in a chase, survivors are generally going to be running at all times. They may be, like sometimes, especially here at Shack, you're looking at survivors who are maybe waiting to see if you're going to be coming in the entrance from over here. So that way they can like stand here, be ready, and then they can just shift run and get a fast vault. And my reasoning of why it's so crucial to play around pallets more than it is Windows with Doctor is because they have this special running vault. When you get a pallet here, I can drop the pallet from, about a couple spaces away. You get the space prompt for it. But if you run, you can't drop the pallet on the same side. You would have to run and get part of the way through the pallet in order for the prompt to show up, so that way you would run through and drop the pallet. There is a brief gap where even if you're not running, that the prompt for the pallet just completely disappears for survivors. And this works most particularly when they are running / like looping a killer. So like they don't have the ability to necessarily drop the pallet where they want to when they want to. Especially if they are running. And generally speaking in a chase, you're going to be running. So, when you have the pallet thrown here, You notice how there is no special like running vault prompt when it comes to a pallet as opposed to the window. That's because as long as you're holding shift, you get a fast vault on a pallet no matter if you're just standing still or not. And there's no medium vault. There's just a slow vault over a pallet and a fast vault. And generally, once a pallet has been thrown, it's a little bit easier for Doctor to play because when a survivor is running at a pallet, the prompt only appears like a step or two at most. Like, this is about half the distance it is for a running vault to a window. It's a pretty massive difference, but it is all the difference in the world between landing a shock on a survivor and not landing a shock on survivor and denying the interaction. So it's very crucial that you get adjusted to playing around both of them. For Windows especially, you have to go for your shocks significantly earlier as opposed to a pallet. And that little bit of distance, a little bit of time, makes playing both of them a slightly different game. You have to pay very close attention, put a little bit of practice in, a lot of practice in, and get very acquainted where a survivor is actually going to be able to have the interaction and where they are not going to have the interaction. So you have to pay very close attention to that as you are learning. I do recommend going into KYF with even just a friend to like practice it, so you can get like an initial feel for the difference, because it is pretty stark difference. Because as soon as a survivor hits the prompt, especially for a running vault on a window, you can't stop that. So as soon as I've pressed space to do the running vault, like right here, even if the shock hits me before I'm like going through the window, the vault will still happen for the survivor. The person will scream, they'll be shocked, but because they've already hit the interaction, they get the vault no matter what. You can't deny it at that point, and that's why, in general, it's far, far better for you to try to play around pallets than is Windows. I'm going to do a little bit of some chase demonstrations with my friend assistant here to maybe help showcase the differences. Thank you. Therein, so that way you guys can see some of these interactions in action. That way, it might be a little bit easier to see in practice than it is in just me rambling and explaining. So let's move on to that, shall we? Alrighty, now we have a little bit of a gameplay demonstration. I'm going to showcase the little bit of differences between the different vaults for running to Windows, even if you get shocked. So it's the importance of timing when it comes to Doctor's shocks. My assistant is going to be helping me, and we are going to hopefully showcase what I am meaning by all the funny words I was saying at the beginning of the video. So without further ado, let us go forth and showcase this. See, like right there, even with being shocked, I am still able to get the vault because I pressed the prompt even before the shock hits me, and it's literally the biggest reason why I prefer playing pallets over the window. And I'll show you the differences with a pallet now as well. So let's get this pallet thrown down, smack on my assistant. Alrighty, now that you guys have seen the difference it makes when it comes to window vaults, we're going to be showcasing a little bit with the pallet and why it is so important to understand the timings when it comes to the various different prompts for survivors. My assistant is going to start shocking so I can showcase like the differences for the prompts that you can get leading up to a pallet, through the pallet, and then on the other side of the pallet. So if I can have my assistant shock about now. That's probably about as perfectly timed as you want in order to deny the pallet, leading into it. Because a survivor will not be able to get the drop-down prompt until they're almost all the way through the pallet if they are holding the run key. If they are just walking up to the pallet, they can drop it from this side. They get a little bit of a dead zone as they're walking through the pallet, and then it reappears when they're on the other side. So if survivors are camping a pallet at the wrong spot inside of it, they can get screwed over by a shock, and then they, you know, can't drop it either side at that point. So the difference of the prompt of a running survivor that it makes is pretty massive, because it completely cuts out your option to throw it down until you're almost all the way through it. So going for your shocks a little bit earlier as Doctor is very crucial, especially with the advent of dedicated servers. You really want to make sure you are getting the timing down leading into the pallet. So like before they even are like about halfway to the pallet, you already want the shock to be hitting them. It's going to take practice, it's going to take time, but once you get it down, my assistant will shock. There was a brief split second where you're able to get the shock there. You need to always be going for the shock slightly earlier whenever you are going for it to deny a pallet specifically, because you have a lot more room to do it when it comes to a pallet as opposed to when you're doing it for a window. And with that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and thank you. Alrighty guys, thank you for joining me. Hopefully you guys found this video a little bit informative and helpful to you, and maybe it'll help you guys get a little bit of practice in your endeavors when it comes to shocking and popping peeps in Dead by Daylight. Thank you very much for all the continued support, and I appreciate you guys being here. Looks like my assistant has something he wants to show me over here, though. So let's go see what he's got going on over here. Huh. I think he wants me to leave. I think it's time for the video to end, guys. I think that's what he wants. Yeah? Yeah, I think that's what he wants. Anyways, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I'll see you guys around in the next video. I'm gonna get out of here before Pyramid Head gets a little bit too antsy, so I don't want to, yeah, just like that. Anyways, see you guys in the next video. Take care, friends.